Morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time you are watching this. Welcome back to another episode of the Since I Was Young podcast for all things Heart and Midlothian. Joining you is going to be myself and Alan. Only for this episode, we're not virtually going to be in the same room just again due to time restrictions. We're going to record two sections of this individually, and hopefully it'll be just as informative as we usually are. So just before we get started as well, obviously for my section, I'll be delving into a bit on the Scottish Cup tie, the fourth round, where we travelled to Brechin, which we were nervously victorious in a 4-1 win, which was nice to see more than one goal scored at our end. Going to be going just through some of the key moments, and afterwards I will pass it over to Alan as well, who will talk a bit about some more transfer news and a look ahead to this weekend's game against Kilmarnock. So it'll be a slightly shorter episode, but hopefully, as I said at the start, just as informative. So before we get started, as always, guys, if you are a fan of the Since I Was Young podcast but not yet subscribed, please feel free to do so for the YouTube channel. And if you want to check out the Spotify as well, you can check that out too. So yeah, we'll get cracked in to our tie against Brechin City in the fourth round of the Scottish Cup. Just starting with the squad, it was a relatively strong squad. I think, if you're going to dabble into trying out French players, etc., especially in the position we are in at the moment, you're going to ask for trouble. With the starting squad in general, I thought it was a relatively strong squad. A couple things, well, a couple players that I didn't actually, agree with as well. I thought the only person on the outfield, I thought starting George Grant again. Me and Alan talked about this last week, where with the looming overhaul of the squad, I think he's kind of in that category where it's probably time to move on. Just my personal opinion. But I think now more than ever, I don't know where you fit him into a squad, let alone getting into, like, let's just say my own 11. Grant's wouldn't usually be in it. So, yeah, but I mean, nonetheless, we won the game anyway. But the one player that I would have thought would be given a start, and it's nothing to do with the man we've gotten in between the sticks just now, but I thought it would have actually been a nice touch to have started Xander Clark. And it's not to go back to what I said at the start, where we're starting French players against a Highland League club, but I would have thought, just with the combination of, he's not had any minutes for quite a while now, and as I said, considering that he just signed a 2-year extension as well, um, I think he is on a level par with Craig Gordon in a different way. There's things to his game that he's better at than Craig Gordon, and there's things that Craig Gordon has that he's better than it's Xander Clark. So I would have thought, in my head, it is a like for like in some senses, but it's not the end of the world. We've still got a world class goalkeeper in between the sticks. So, that's just me being Ed Petty, as it were. The first half in general, I think most of you can agree that it was a wee bit scary. I thought the first half an hour, Brechin were really sort of in for it, I would say. They were right up in the faces of the Hearts players. They were getting some strings of play together as well. They did come across quite aggressive as well. Um, and with their, I can only say an absolute wonder goal and wonder strike. When they opened up the scoring in the first half, I'll be very honest, I wasn't too particularly worried. I think all credit to the boy that scored. It was an absolute beautiful strike. Um, I probably should have done. Sorry, pardon me. I probably should have done my research on his name, but I do know that he is on loan from St. Johnson, so at least there's much. But I thought that even when they did score, I started to get the PTSD from the Rangers as well. But to be honest, I wasn't at all concerned about a cup upset. Yeah, there were a tiny bit of nerves when they scored, and it kind of looked like, with a combination of, like, well, again, just to refer back to where we are now, in terms of the Premiership table, you know, the condition of the pitch as well. Obviously, like, with, like, the current situation with us building something very slowly. It's not going at agreed speed, but I do think there is something slowly building as well. Um, I think that if we had gotten through the first half without us equalising as we did, I think more nerves probably would have set in, because you obviously wouldn't have known what to expect. But just to kind of move into that as well, I think a good standout of the game was Yandanda. Obviously, this is no disrespect to Ed the Brechin, but it's not to give the team so much credit that they scored 4 goals, but his finishing from the equaliser, I thought that's the Yandanda we want to see week in and week out. That's the Yandanda that we want and that we saw when he was playing for Ross County. It was a fantastic strike, really good vision to slot it into the corner of the net as well. So yeah, I'm really happy for him to hopefully bounce on, have a bit more performances like that as well. And, you know, if he starts to kind of build something for himself, I do believe that he can be a future starter as well, because, I automatically thought that when we did buy him in, that after a few games he would be a regular starter. But, just with the way that things worked out, some of his own personal performances, where the club have been as a whole, results as well, it's just not kind of went for him that way. And I'm probably would um, think that Jan Danda thinks that himself. So if he can build on that, then happy days. So obviously getting into the second half as well. I mean, I was watching it from TV, and obviously with it being very close to the pitch, I could hear like a lot of Hearts fans' opinions, let's say, during the game. And like, for all as much as it wasn't the best performance, it is something to take away. The game is still there to be won. And I think as we got into the second half, I think that's where the quality of the squads started to show. A massive thing as well, and something that doesn't really get touched enough as well. Is fitness levels as well. That played a great part in the actual game as well. Obviously, not to keep referring back to it, but breaking our Highland or a Lowland league side as well, and they put all their energy into the first half, and again, credit to them, to go in front against a Premiership club, and try to put in all your fighting energy into the game. Genuinely hats off to them, but when it comes down to it, the golfing quality did show. Um, and we went in front for the first time that night from the Kenny Vargas as well. Again, a wee flick of the knee, but again, I'm not too bothered how it goes in. So that obviously was I think that that was a turning point, like to show that we were there to crack on and to see the rest of the game, and as we did as well. Again, another player which was obviously a standout, Elder Kambangu. Again, I believe there was a stat that I read not too long ago. I think he's the first Hearts player to score a brace on his full debut since I think it was 2012 or something like that. So it's nice to see that the record breaking is not all lost there. So that was nice to see. But yeah, I was absolutely delighted for Elton. He does look like he has something about him as well. He looks like he would be a bit more of a stable um, forward to have in your attacking line. He looks wide, he looks big, he looks like he could hold the ball up quite well. We've seen, the couple of chances he had against Aberdeen and the two chances as well that he took against the Brechin, to get those goals under his belt. I think is fantastic, and hopefully now we can actually start to see a proper goal scorer now. Obviously, that's not at all a dig on either James Wilson or Lawrence Shankland as well. But there is I think we talked about. I think James Wilson has done remarkable, being the age that he's at, scoring goals, starting most weeks now. But obviously you can't rely all of your um, attacking options onto a 17-year-old kid as well. So I think to bring in Elton for the rest of the season, I think hopefully now, he'll probably be setting himself a few targets as well. I think getting maybe 10 goals by the end of the season will now be a realistic target as well. Maybe he'll want to aim higher. So hopefully, as I said, he can crack on now and start to build a bit of a name for himself. But in terms of the overall performance as well, I think especially in the second half, and it's obviously been said quite a lot, but it does hit the nail on the head. It was a real professional job by the squad. You know, we didn't really look panicked or out out of place, let's say, during the whole game. I thought it was a really, I wouldn't say nasty affair, but it was a very dirty affair. I know that doesn't seem particularly right for a football show, but yeah, it was a very just as the saying goes, it was actually James Minnick Japan that said it. Can you do it on a cold Friday night in the Brechin? So that we did. So yeah, I mean, overall, I'm just happy that we've made it to the next round of the Scottish Cup. And I'm delighted to see as well that we've actually scored more than one goal in a game. So hopefully it is a bit of a confidence booster to take into this weekend's game against Kilmarnock, which obviously I will pass over to Alan in a second. But as I'm recording this as well, the draw has been made for the fifth round, and we have been drawn away again to St Mirren. Now, again, I think I am right in saying that we're the only all Premiership side match. I think for all the other games, they're all different leagues that facing each other. So I think this, this will probably be the pick of the ties in terms of bad matchups as well and teams. Um, yeah, it is a difficult one. I think when it comes to St Mirren, I think more so with the way that we've been playing so far as well. Um, I don't expect an easy fixture, but at the same time, it is a very winnable fixture. Obviously, I know that St Mirren won't make it easy for us. Um, they're a hard team to beat, especially at their home ground. You know, it's compared to the other away grounds we go to, we've actually had a few decent results there. But as I said, it's in no way, shape, or form a done deal when it comes to facing them. Again, I think it'll be a very difficult tie. So I believe that's going to be taking place on the 8th of February. So as I said, I think it will be a very interesting tie, the pick of the ties as well. So um, yeah, I think as I said, I think it is a winnable game, but we just have to wait and see. Just before I pass over to Alan as well, he's probably going to mention it as well. But as I am speaking, um, there has been some transfer news that has been happening. I'm just going to get the info up on my phone. So I do know that Alan will mention it, and so he recorded his the other day, as we are recording this separately. But um, Hearts have now officially completed the signing of centre back Michael Steinwelder. I believe the fee was quoted for 250,000, which, like, again, if we sold Kairos for 600,000 and him being the replacement, I would say that's a good small way, a bit of business. But again, from the things I've been seeing, he does look or on paper at least he does seem a very good player. I believe he did have a chat with a um, previous Austrian that played for Hearts for a long time in Peter Haring. I believe that his words and describing the club to Steinwelder, pretty much sealed it. So if he's in contention to be in the squad against the Kilmarnock, I think that would be really good to see as well. So I'm now going to pass you over to Alan to give you more of the latest transfer news and a preview for the Kilmarnock game. Thank you very much for watching my side, and Alan, over to you.
That's great, Ewan. Thank you so much for your insight into the Brechin tie. From my own personal point of view, I thought it was very much a professional performance. Yes, we had a little blip at the early stages with the Brechin scoring an absolute wonder strike, but a professional job done against a tricky opponent on a tricky pitch. So important to get to the next round. At time of recording, it is Monday evening. The draw takes place later on this evening. So by the time this goes live, you will know who we have drawn. I do not, but I will obviously look forward to us getting drawn against one of Celtic, Rangers, or Hibs away from home. But yeah, we'll leave it there in terms of Brechin. I just wanted to touch on a couple of things before ending. Obviously, we have Kilmarnock coming up on Saturday, a very difficult tie. We've not had a great record against Kilmarnock this season so far. Obviously, the most recent tie where they had a man sent off in the early stages, and we still somehow managed to lose 1-0 courtesy of a penalty. That game still haunts me, as does the one earlier in the season at Tynecastle that I happened to be at when we lost by 2-1. So yeah, it's going to be a tough tie. Kilmarnock seem to be a bit of a bogey side for us at the moment, but hopefully with the sort of increased positivity and the increased optimism, I think is probably the way to put it, that it's around Hearts at the moment. Hopefully the players can build on that confidence that they have taken, obviously, from being unbeaten in January thus far, unbeaten in 2025, in fact. And it's been good to bounce back from what was an underwhelming December, a disappointing December, to then come back in January and go again and pick up results. has been positive, and obviously that coupled with new players coming in has added to a bit more of a positive atmosphere, I would suggest, around the fan base and the players. You can tell that the confidence is there. There's one point that I wanted to make, and it surrounds the captain, Lawrence Shankland. Obviously, he's been out the last few weeks. There are some whispers that he may be back for Kilmarnock. Obviously, we'll get team news and things confirmed near the time, but I want to put that to you. If you are Neil Critchley, what do you do with Lawrence Shankland? Do you play him? Do you bring him straight back in? Or do you look at it and go, well, the team's actually been doing all right. We're in good form. I don't want to disturb it, even though he is the captain. What do you do? How do you approach that? If it was me, I'm looking at Lawrence Shankland and I'm going, well, yeah, the team's been doing well in your absence, so you need to earn your way back in, regardless of captain or not. But we'll see. There may well be a place for him in the team. There may well be a place for him in the starting 11. I think the only potential place I could see for him would be in that sort of deeper striker role with maybe Cabangu running off him or James Wilson. But I would imagine Cabangu will probably start off the back of 2 goals against Brechin. But maybe Shanklin comes in as that second striker, the one that holds the ball in and does the link up play like he did towards the end of Josh Ginnelly's time at Hearts. They formed quite a partnership in that final 6 months where Shanklin kind of turned into the supplier and Gino was the finisher. So maybe we will see that form a partnership between Shankland and Cabangu. It may well be a case of the pressure's off Shankland's shoulders, so we may start to see him come back in and hit some form again. We've said it all season long that the lack of a striker has been a massive, massive issue. So to have another one in that's obviously hungry to score goals, and Elton Cabangu seems to be, that's a big positive. And Shanklin might be looking at him and going, right, I'm not the only person that can be relied on here. Maybe this is a good thing. And hopefully we'll see Shanklin bag some more goals and just take it from there. But like I say, you can let me know your thoughts. Do you think Lawrence Shanklin comes in and would you bring him straight back in for the game against Kilmarnock? Obviously, Derek McInnes side, we know very well how they're going to play. They're going to turn up. They're going to frustrate us. They're going to sit in and annoy us effectively. That's the best way I can describe it. They're going to sit in and annoy the hell out of us because that's just what they do. In terms of Hearts, yeah, I don't expect there to be too many changes in the lineup. I think Shankland is probably the one that people will be asking about. Um, will we see Gerald Taylor back in at right back? Obviously, we've seen Oyegoki and Forrester kind of fighting that out since the beginning of the season. But Gerald Taylor's come back in. He obviously came off the bench against Brechin following his lengthy injury layoff. He's back. Does he come and play against Kilmarnock? Is there a place on the bench for Callum Neuenhoff? Do we know where Callum Neuenhoff is? Has anybody seen Callum Neuenhoff? This is a player who was very close, apparently, to featuring against Brechin, and however, didn't even make the bench. So that was a frustration. But we will see what happens. From my point of view, I believe that we have enough about us to get a result against Kilmarnock. I think the issues that we've had at the start of the season have been the silly mistakes that we've made, the individual errors that have led to goals. In fact, obviously, we had the individual error from James Penrice in the last Kilmarnock tie that obviously gave the penalty away. But in the last few weeks, we've been cutting out those errors, and the defence do look a lot more solid and a lot more confident, and maybe that can add. Obviously, that helps with the run that we've been on, and that's certainly been a big cornerstone of that run. So hopefully, we've kind of turned a corner defensively, and the team look a bit more confident in the forward areas. Because if they are, and if they can be, then we've got more than enough to trouble Kilmarnock and hopefully keep the 3 points at Tynecastle as we try to, like I say, sustain this run that we're on and try to climb the table. Because yeah, there's a lot of positive thoughts around Hearts at the moment. There's a lot of confidence, but we are still 11th. There is still work to do. So it's time to kind of put up and see where we can go with it. In terms of anything further to bring you, obviously we're still in the midst of a transfer window. Michael Steinvelder is in Scotland currently. He had his medical today. Day of recording Monday the 20th. He had his medical today. So I can't imagine that an announcement would be too far away. He may well feature against Kilmarnock as well, the tall Austrian centre back who's come in for a 6-figure fee. So that could be something that Critchley might do. Personally, I don't think he will, but we'll wait and see, and nothing would surprise me. But I don't think we'll see a centre back that's just new being brought in straight away. I think when the defence has kind of improved a little bit over recent weeks, I think the last thing that Critchley will want to do and needs to do really is throw in a new centre back into that. But we'll see. Time will tell on that one. Other transfer news to bring you: Sander Khartoum, a 29-year-old Norwegian midfielder from SK Brann, is apparently on the brink of signing for Hearts. It was a link that came up over the last few days. He's a midfielder, a right-sided central midfielder who likes to drift out wide. Could it be we're trying to mimic the Spittle on the left with Khartoum on the right, potentially? Doesn't seem to be particularly pacey, which is my only concern about playing him out on the wide right areas. He has featured as a number 10 for Brann previously, as well as that sort of technical, creative number 8. But yeah, it's nice to have another option, another midfielder that has a bit of attacking intent about him, because from all the clips and things that I've read and seen, he does like a goal. He likes a shot at goal. He likes to hit them on target. And yeah, we'll see. I think the age profile is another thing I wanted to mention. Obviously, 29 years old. He's not a young guy, but at that age, he'll bring experience and leadership, and also, a bit of confidence, and not, you wouldn't expect a 29-year-old to need a lot of time to settle in effectively, is my point. He'll come in with a point to prove, and hopefully gets in and gets going. Obviously, again, I don't imagine he'll be in time for the Kilmarnock tie, but again, who knows? We'll wait and see on that. But again, it's a six-figure fee that's apparently been quoted for him. Um, I think it's interesting. Obviously, the Khartoum situation, it was a name that just sort of came out of nowhere. And I think it kind of leads me into the point that I wanted to make about Chesnikov, the Kazakh winger that we are yet to complete a deal for. But apparently, talks are still ongoing because the player wants to make the move. But we shall see how that goes. I think this is interesting. And obviously, this is our first transfer window with the Jamestown analytics being at the centre of it. So it'll be very, very interesting to see how that all goes, and how that plays out. I think we've seen with the early signings that we made with Jamie McCart and Elton Kabangu, two players that are obviously known to the system and scored high up in that system, and have both been brought in off the back of recommendations from that. Obviously, Neil Critchley knew Jamie McCart from his time down south, and Elton Kabangu's been known to the Jamestown Analytics because that's what took him to USG in the first place. So we're obviously utilising the knowledge that's already there, as well as building our own, which is obviously a massive positive. But one thing I did want to mention, I think with the Jamestown stuff, I think it'll be very, very interesting to see names getting linked with us, because agents in world football will know that Hearts utilise this system. So it's an easy link for them to say, oh yeah, Hearts want my client, Hearts are interested in this player. Yeah, he scored highly on the system that they use, and that's why he wants him. I think you saw it quite often with Brighton. Like, players seem to get linked to Brighton because, again, Brighton have this system of being able to kind of find untapped gems before they become something. So you see a lot of names being linked to Brighton, and I feel like we may well be in on a similar boat with that. But my thoughts on that are simply wait till news is done, wait till deals are done. And I think, to talk about the last thing I want to talk about before I wrap it up today, the Chesnikov deal, as I said, is still in the balance. Apparently, both clubs are still negotiating with one another. There was some whispers, and it was an article that surfaced from the Daily Record. Again, I question its credibility always, because they've been trying to get Shankland to Rangers for the last 18 months. Unsuccessfully. But the Chesnikov situation is an interesting one. Obviously, we have made an offer for him, and his current club have laughed it off and basically said that we're cheapskates, and said that if it was £500,000, which was apparently the quoted offer, whether that's true or not, if the chairman of the club basically said, if Hearts had offered us £500,000, as has been reported, we would have driven them to Scotland ourselves. So that shows you that we have gone lower than what they perhaps want. But I don't blame the club for that. And I know some people will. Some people, and I've seen lots of people saying, oh, for God's sake, if we want the player, just pay what they want and get him in. We need a winger, get him in now, etc., etc. This is a guy who's 25 years old, wants a move to Europe. By the sounds of it, has limited options for that move to Europe, and we may well be his most attractive option for that, in terms of coming in and being a starter, etc. There's clubs in Russia that were apparently keen on him, but again, understandably, all things considered, I can understand why he wouldn't want to go and play in Russia at the moment. So I don't blame Hearts for lowballing an offer. I think it's absolutely fair and makes complete sense. As I said, his contract runs out in November of this year. So again, that gives us another position of power in negotiations, and we can say, well, the player wants to come in, we want the player, this is what we're offering you, and that's it. I get it. They'll want to get the most that they can, but ultimately we hold the cards in this one. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. I still feel like if the player wants to come to Hearts, we'll make it happen and it'll get done. And if we really want him, it'll get done. If we don't, we move on to another target, because that's how the Jamestown system works. They bring you a list of players, suitability wise, statistically analysed. You then pick the best option off of that list and take it from there. So Chesnikov will not be the only player on that list. And obviously Sander Khartoum is a player that can, as I said, play out on the right. So that could be another option. Obviously, I would prefer an out-and-out winger. I feel like we need an out-and-out winger. I feel like we've lacked pace for a very long time. So hopefully we can get those deals done. In terms of outgoings, obviously, we haven't really seen too much in the way of high-profile outgoings yet, aside from Liam Boyce and Kai Rolls really being the two that have left as of now, as of time of recording anyway. There may well be some more movement, but obviously Barry Mackay still at the club just now. Yutara Oda, a player that, two players that have been kind of singled out by the manager as the door's not completely closed on them, but if they want to go, they can. The Japanese transfer window, and somebody pointed this out to me, the Japanese transfer window opens today, so that could well speed up some movement for Oda, perhaps. We shall wait and see. But yeah, I think Andrew McKinley did his quarterly update when he spoke about transfers. He said, we acted quickly and got two in positions that we wanted to get in. It'll depend on outgoings now as well, though. He suggested that there could still be two more to come, and you would imagine that's maybe Steinbelter and Khartoum. But if there's more to be done, people will need to leave, is effectively the kind of gist of what was said. And it makes sense. The squad, Critchley's already said the squad's too big. So if we're going to be adding more to that, it's not helpful. So we shall see. We shall see how that goes. As I say, there's still a couple of weeks in the transfer window left to go. We'll see how things play out and what the team will look like on the 1st of February when the window closes, compared to what it looked like at the start of January. Critchley himself did say the squad will look different at the end of the window as it has done at the start, and I don't think you can deny that. But yeah, what I like, and one thing that I'll say before I wrap up, what I like about the business that we're doing, you can see there's thought process being put in. These players are being brought in, and it's not just panics. It's not just, oh my God, we're bottom of the table, let's panic and sign everyone. There's clearly a plan being made with these players, and that's important. So we will see how that plays out. Before I leave, obviously I forgot to ask you, but drop your predictions for the Kilmarnock tie in the comments. I will go with a 2-0 win for Hearts. I think we're going to continue the positive momentum and start to climb the table, because we need to make the most of the positive confidence that we've got at the moment. I'm going to 2-0 win. I'm going Kabangu and Spittle to score. You can let me know your thoughts. Would you play Shankland? Is there any other team selections that you would be interested to see? Do you think any of the new guys will come in and play? And before I go, the most important question: what has happened to Callum Neuenhoff? Where is he? Has anybody spotted him? Do we need to send a search party out for him? But yes, thank you so much, guys. As I say, there's a slight change of format to this week's episode, just due to myself and Ewan not being able to line up time together to sit down and do this episode. But hopefully you enjoy hearing Ewan's thoughts on Brechin and my thoughts on Kilmarnock and the transfers that we've made, and hopefully more to come. But yes, hopefully things will be back to some form of normality in the coming weeks, and we'll bring you content on a weekly basis as we have done. Please do, before I go, don't forget all our social media links are down in the description. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, X, all of them. TikTok's down there as well, I believe. But yeah, please do go down, give us a subscription. All the support that we've received in recent episodes has been massively, massively appreciated. And yeah, I'll just leave it there for now. But hopefully, like I say, 3 points can stay at Tynecastle on Saturday as we build to move forward. Anyway, have a good one. Bye for now.